Hello to both of you. Welcome to Dread Central, and thanks for chatting with me today.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
Thank you
I
for having
love
us.
Dread Central.
yeah, well, we love you guys, and yes, we've spoken with you before, Barbara, but this is my first time meeting you, Andrew. Um, for both of you, I'm wondering, how would you describe this film to someone who has no idea what it's about? Andrew, maybe I'll start with you.
I think I would say that it's a love letter to adventure horror comedies from the 80s, like Fright Night, Gremlins, dare I say, even Reanimator. And it's told through a modern lens. But it definitely is me processing some nostalgia that's meant a lot to me over the years, but with, I guess my filmmaker sensibilities.
Cool. And Barbara, like, what's the one-liner for this crazy movie?
If you want to reduce it to the one-liner, I'd say it was a horror comedy on acid. But at the same time, I do want to extrapolate on that and say, for me, when I, read the initial story, even a long time ago, almost 5 years ago, when Andrew first wrote it, I looked at it as this misfit who felt like he didn't belong anywhere, and he was kind of an outcast, and he was looking for a reason to keep on living and to keep on going and to feel like he belonged and he mattered. And through the course of the movie, he meets friends and other people that feel like they are going to add to his life in some way.
Yeah.
And he finally feels like he's deserving of the love and attention that everybody deserves in life.
I'm sure you see a lot of scripts. How do you, pick through them and land on something like this, or even Alone with You last year? Like, what are you looking for?
That's a really good question. I feel like I always look at the filmmakers first and I see what they've done. Some people haven't done too many things, like especially with Alone with You,
Yeah.
with Emily and her partner. They hadn't done a lot, but they had some producers behind them that I really felt were good, thoughtful people. I read the script and I loved the script, and I talked to them and I really liked them. And so I took a chance on that, but I don't do that lightly with people. But I knew Andrew from a very long time ago because I had done his podcast when he had a podcast called Altered States. And then he asked me to be in some shorts. And we were at horror movie conventions, and I did a couple of shorts for him, and I did a commercial for him for Ash versus Evil Dead. And then he did a short called House Mother, in which I played a demon, and no one's ever asked me to be a demon before. And I'd seen a lot of Andrew's videos, and I mean, he's completely astoundingly creative with his thought process and characters and his narrative. And, I mean, when he asked me to play this supporting, really small cameo in his movie, I was like, I'll do anything for you, Andrew. I love your aesthetic. So whatever you want me to do, I'll do. So for me, it's about my belief in the filmmaker and my belief in the story and the people behind it.
Awesome. Andrew, you went viral with the Weird Satanist, I think it was 10 years ago. What was that like at the time? Was that something that was happening with you and your peers, or was that something kind of new back then?
For me, it was new. I hadn't ever I wasn't intending to make the character viral. I just liked the idea of using the format of the news video to introduce a scripted comedic figure. And I truly did it almost more as an editor than a performer. I just really liked the idea of pulling off that kind of magic trick with editing skills. And in a weird way, the performer aspect was secondary. And when that worked and went viral and was spread, it blew me away. And I had to start thinking differently starting then, as far as how I would continue to present this character to audiences, or whether or not I would continue to present this character to audiences. But the fact that multiple videos featuring him continued to work for the internet and find an audience gave me kind of confidence to pursue him further.
Yeah. What was the catalyst of you knowing a film should be made?
Well, I've been a director and a filmmaker for as long as I've been acting. And so I always knew I wanted to bring Onyx, merge him with my filmmaker side. But I think I've had a hard time getting any feature off the ground in my career. And so crowdfunding truly was one of the only ways forward for me to helm another feature. I've made 3 previous very small experimental features. And so I put Onyx on TikTok just to kind of keep myself busy during the pandemic. And he amassed about 1 million followers rather quickly. And that's when I realized, well, maybe now is the time to look for that crowdfunding base, leverage his internet followers, and finally make an Onyx feature.
Mm-hmm. Barbara, what was it like working with a creator that was wearing so many hats?
It was pretty incredible, actually, because I remember this really tickled me. We would be on the set, and all of a sudden, Andrew would be talking to the DP and the AD and setting up the shot, and me, or whatever other actors were in the scene. And then he would say, and then he could be speaking, and he would go, action. And then he would talk as Onyx, but he always said action as the director, and then flipped right into the character. And I said to him, I don't know if you remember this, Andrew, but I said, how are you doing this? Like, how are you going back and forth between director and actor, and, just being the corraller of everything that's happening? And you said to me, I don't know any different. This is what I've always done, because I'm usually a character in my movies anyway, and in the content I create. So you said, I don't know what it would be like if I was just doing one thing. And that really struck me, because I don't know many people that could have that facility, but to you, it seems natural.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
I think it would be really easy to approach a character like this just with raunch, but I found that you had a lot of pathos and a lot of compassion for him. Why was that important, considering the silly nature of the character?
Well, Onyx for me has always been, I call him a processing agent. He helps me process things from my childhood. He helps me process my anxiety. He helps me deal with a lot of undealt with issues in my life that I've started to deal with more recently. But for me, performing him has always been a way, it's a means of catharsis. And so what's interesting is when, I kind of go internally back to my childhood, where I was kind of born, there's a lot of shame, and there's a lot of twisted up thinking around sexuality and around value and identity. And so naturally what you get is this hybrid of almost a kid-like expression and presence in his love for his Battle Cats toys, and his wearing of his Battle Cats underoos even as an adult. But then there is still something that could be a little filthy coming out now and again, a little angry coming out now and again, because he's been keeping that stuff down. And so for me, it was very important to further investigate that pathos in the feature, or else why do it? Why stretch it to a feature-length runtime? It's the interest that I have in the character, and I think the catharsis that he provides me that pushed me toward that investigation.
Question for both of you. Congrats on Sundance. What an achievement. Sundance is often a place for very serious content. And I'm wondering, how are you guys fitting in? What has been the response to this movie, and how are people treating you over there?
Okay, I have to jump in one quick second before
Yeah.
just say, when Andrew was telling me all the film festivals he was submitting it to, I said, it doesn't seem like a Sundance movie to me. And then I remember I apologized after he got into Sundance, and I said, oh, I guess it is a Sundance movie. And then, because it is. And then I found out that Tucker and Dale versus Evil premiered there, which I didn't know. So, so even you are saying, oh, now, get it. But yeah, so go ahead, Andrew.
Well, I've actually found the Onyx film to be incredibly welcomed here. I think and having seen a number of films while being here, I think it's especially this year, I can only speak to this year, it's a very eclectic group of films. the shorts programs, and the documentaries range from all subjects. And so I feel oddly at home, even though I too didn't expect to get the phone call and find out we got in. But once you're here, you realize that it's a very, very inclusive family in regards to genre, and a celebration of all sorts of different genres. And I have heard people, audience members, that have come up to me after screenings and said, we did watch a few heavy films today and they were wonderful, but I also am so glad that we had a midnight movie that we could laugh through. And that's been very encouraging. I think we've really been a streak of levity for a lot of people here.
Yeah, you definitely complement the midnight lineup. For
Yeah,
sure.
right.
For Barbara, you are again on screen with Jeffrey Combs from Reanimator. Were you guys reunited on set, and have you kept in touch over the years?
Yeah, Jeffrey and I keep in touch quite often. You know, we text each other a lot, and every once in a while we'll have breakfast or a lunch or something. And of course, we go to a lot of conventions together. We were on set for a couple of, I mean, I was there at the big house when they were shooting at the big house, and and Jeffrey was there. But then when I was in the scenes in Andrew's childhood home, there is a scene in the movie where Jeffrey not only plays Bartok, but he also plays Andrew's father in the movie. And there's a woman who is yelling at him from the other room. They're yelling at one another. And I don't know if some people, I think most people picked up on it, but I'm playing, I'm Andrew's mother, but also it was Jeffrey in another wig who's playing Onyx's father. So we sort of had some off-camera banter, and Andrew put a line in there from Reanimator, get a job in a sideshow, because we were fighting and the father's leaving, and that's it. That's the end of him. And hence the whole movie, sprung from this disappointment, I guess, of his father leaving. And I had that line, get a job in a sideshow, which was Jeffrey's line to Dr. Hill in so
Yeah.
I came up with that line, in the moment on set. So that was sort of a fun little thing for us to have together.
Thought he looked familiar. I feel very silly.
You didn't know.
I didn't clock it. I was like, that looks like a familiar guy. Yeah, well, that's on me. Very cool though. Again, for both of you, I find that there is an outdated notion where producers and people in the industry will say that horror comedy is difficult to sell, or horror comedy is a difficult thing for an audience to grasp. Why do you think that energy is out there, and is there truth to it?
Gosh, I truly have never understood that sentiment, but I too have heard it.
Yeah.
And but you're talking to a filmmaker who would probably put like Hannah Kaye's Funny Games and Joe Dante's Gremlins 2, on an equal pedestal. So I don't really know. I think horror comedy will always thrive. I think it's even currently thriving. I mean, people are complimenting Megan for its comedy and its humor. People even complimented Barbarian for its humor. And obviously one of the largest horror filmmakers right now is Jordan Peele, a comedian who brings a lot of levity into his projects and still electrifies audiences with the scares. So I don't know where that notion comes from, and I don't know if it is really relevant. Like now, it seems like horror comedy is kind of thriving.
Yeah, my understanding from what I've heard from salespeople is that the comedy is hard to transfer into other languages and cultures. So that if something that we think or that Andrew thinks is going to be funny, sometimes it won't transfer to Japan or to Germany or to South America. And that's why it's hard to sell horror comedies that are American and vice versa to, other territories across the world. But as Andrew says, I do think horror comedy is having its moment right now. And even for me, I felt a shift when Freaky came out during the pandemic. It was so funny and such a breath of fresh air and something that we really needed. And the Blumhouse model has been so popular. so many years where it's really about the scares and the tension. And for some reason, maybe it's because we've all been through a terrible thing together, that the horror comedies sort of ebb and flow through time periods in history, depending on what's going on in the world. And I think people want to laugh right now. So I do think that Andrew and his movie hit at the right time, because I agree with you. I do think horror comedies are in a way that we haven't seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
That was some interesting inside baseball. Well, on the notion of being scared, has anything scared you guys in the last couple of years? What has freaked you out in cinema?
Oh, do you have an answer for that?
I meant in
Barbara?
life. I had a whole list.
Life works, but I was thinking movies.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh wow. Oh, you know, I really did enjoy and felt genuinely unnerved throughout Watcher, the Micah Monroe movie.
Yeah.
I really felt so much tension that there was no way I was pausing the movie and getting up to do anything else. I watched it through full focus and was really engaged, and that one got under my skin.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a kind of a slow burn movie, but it really had a pace to it and kept you engaged the whole time. I felt the same way. That did scare me. I was scared by Smile, of all things. That one really got to me because it just seemed so freaky. And it's just the things that you really can't control that scare me more than anything, like a masked monster, even, or those kinds of movies are the ones where you can't reason with the killer. That's what scares me. And in Smile, there was kind of no escaping it. If it happened to you, then that's it. You're done for.
Yeah, those are both very scary movies. Smile particularly scared me a lot. So, well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. This was really fun. And congrats on the movie. It's great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, good luck with the rest of the festival.